Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to do something that I usually don't do on the channel. We're going to talk about a movie. Now, this is a particularly important franchise to me, which is a Star Wars franchise, which is one of the reasons why my English sounds the way it does, because when I was very little, when I was but a youngling, I watched Star Wars repeatedly, probably over 1,000 times, the entire original trilogy. And that is kind of how I actually learned a lot of the English that I know, a lot of the basis for sentence forming and so on, because the people that we had doing the subtitles were actually pretty good at subtitling, which meant that I was able to associate the words the characters were saying to the subtitles, and that kind of allowed me to get a basic understanding of the English language, which then I kind of evolved by studying a little bit and so on and so forth. And here we are now, and most people don't even believe that I'm Portuguese because I sound just like an American. One of the biggest responsible factors for that is Star Wars. So I'm a pretty big fan of Star Wars. I don't really tend to watch stuff like the side stuff, the comics, all that. I just like watching the main movies. Now, in today's video, we're going to be talking about The Last Jedi, obviously, which is the last movie that came out. And I'm going to have a little bit of this video, which is going to be spoiler free. And then I will warn you guys when I'm about to hit you with some serious spoilers, because I do want to discuss this in depth. And I want to tell you guys why I personally didn't like The Last Jedi. And it's interesting because there are actually parts of this movie that I enjoy quite a bit. Specifically, the way the plot develops between Rey and Kylo. I think that bit is friggin' fantastic without spoiling anything, because obviously this has kind of been building up since The Force Awakens. I think the way that kind of develops is really cool, but my biggest problem with the game isn't even the plot, even though I feel that a lot of the plot points are actually really weak. And there's a whole portion of the movie that if I would have my way, I'd just like, look, just take that away. Okay, that whole part, throw that away. Doesn't need to be there. Okay? But anyway, even despite that, I'm like, I'm okay. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with a lot of the choices. And I know that a lot of people actually don't like the plot. They're like, oh my God, all of these things that happen in this movie, this is ridiculous. This person has no respect for the Star Wars franchise. Yada, yada, yada. It's like, I'm not even against most of that stuff. I'm just like, look, whatever. You want to take the story in a certain direction? That's his business. He's the director. He's the guy in charge. I don't care. I don't even blame him for it. It's like, whatever. It's actually, and in a lot of ways, a lot of the things that actually happened were kind of cool. But the problem to me with this film, the biggest problem that I have with this film, is that if I wanted to watch a comedy, I don't think I would go to the theaters to watch a Star Wars movie. And that's essentially, like, I would say 80% of this film is a comedy. At a certain point, I just expected to hear the sounds and see Jerry Seinfeld just show up. I'm not even kidding. Because it's that much of comedy that they put in the film that, to me, I just found it ridiculous. And it's like, there's been comedy in Star Wars movies before, even in Rogue One, which is one of my favorite movies of Star Wars. Like, I loved Rogue One. I thought it was amazing, because one of my favorite things about Star Wars isn't even about lightsaber battles. I'm more of a spaceship battles kind of guy, which I guess is why I like Elite Dangerous so much. But, you know, some of my favorite parts of Star Wars is actually when they're flying the X-Wings, fighting against the TIE Fighters, which is one of the reasons why the prequels were pretty weak to me, because those scenes are so chaotic and there's so many ships that you actually can't even figure out. You can barely isolate any individual conflict because there's just a bunch of trash on screen, you know? But in these later ones, like The Force Awakens, Rogue One, the space battles are actually cool and detailed. And like, Jesus Christ, the space battles in Rogue One, just thinking about it, I love it when the friggin' Corvette rams. It's amazing. So this one's got a bit of that as well. And the bits that it's got of space combat, I actually enjoy quite a bit. Although there are a couple of inconsistencies in there that we're going to be talking about. But it's like, again, whenever I think about the movie, and I only watched it once at this point, so my opinion could potentially change a little bit in the future, but I don't think so. But whenever I think about the movie, it's like, to this guy, the whole Star Wars thing is one big joke. It's just like joke after joke after humor after humor. And again, like I said, Star Wars movies have had humor, but it's like it was meaningful, it was appropriate, and it was never disrespectful. And I feel that the humor in this one is just downright disrespectful. Situations that should play out tense and serious. It's like all of that is lost because he's just making a joke out of everything. Like legitimately, just about everything in the movie is a goddamn joke. And I'm just like, I'm watching the movie and I have my friends there with me because I usually go with some friends whenever I watch a Star Wars movie. And we're all just looking at each other and we're all just thinking, wow, we didn't realize that we signed up to watch a comedy flick because, we don't usually go to watch comedy flicks. So, well, there you go. That's how I feel about it without getting into spoilers. So now I want to get into spoiler territory and we're going to get real specific with some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about. So if you don't want to be spoiled, now is your time to leave. Okay? You've had plenty of time. Here come the spoilers. So first thing, and I actually need some notes because there's so many things. And this isn't even everything. This is just some of the stuff. Why is the First Order winning? The way The Force Awakens ends, the Resistance destroyed Starkiller Base. They destroyed it. That should have been a symbol. People should be rallying behind the Resistance. People should be, yeah, let's stick it to those Imperial dogs. But no, apparently somehow we destroy their biggest weapon, a whole goddamn planet, and somehow they have us on our last legs. We're losing the battle, and we have only like a handful of people on our fleet. I thought that was ridiculous. Then we start, the movie actually starts, right? Because this is when this is the scrolling text. So like we have issues with the scrolling text, but whatever. It's like, I'm willing to accept that part. I was like, okay, so between The Force Awakens and this movie, a lot of shit happened that we don't know about. Potentially Disney will want to go back and make another movie about that to figure out exactly what happened that put the Resistance on its last legs. Maybe that's the reason. I just find that to be a little bit of a plot inconsistency there. Then, when the movie actually begins, the first scene is a Yo Mama joke. Yeah. It's like Poe Dameron goes up alone on an X-Wing against an Imperial dreadnought in his modified X-Wing, of course, charges up his boost for his X-Wing, and the boost requires some time to charge up. So, as the boost is charging up, he's going on comms, talking to Hux, and he's just like, I'm looking for Commander Hugs. Looking for Commander Hugs. And then he pretends that he's not listening to him. So the whole thing just becomes a joke, like when people are trying to have a conversation on Skype and they go like, can you hear me? I can hear you. Can you hear me? When they're testing the mics and shit. That's the whole exchange. And then at the end of it, he says, oh yeah, Admiral Leia has a message for him about his mom. And I was like, really? Really, dude? Your mom jokes? Really? But I was like, okay, I'm willing to accept that one. I'll let you take that one, right? Because at the start of the movie, I actually thought that was funny because it was the first joke. And I was like, okay, that's all right. That's all right. Let them have that one. It's a little bit offbeat for the Star Wars films, but whatever. Let him have that one. He goes in, takes on the entirety of the dreadnought by himself, which is kind of a weird thing in its own right. That one single X-Wing is able to just disable all of the defenses of a goddamn dreadnought, but whatever. Although I do have to say that part was pretty cool with him maneuvering and having the TIE fighters and all of the shit that happened as he was going through the dreadnought. It was really, really well done. Really love that part. Then we have another joke instantly in there, which is when BB-8 is fixing Poe's X-Wing. Although that joke is appropriate, I feel, because, there's always humor with the droids and stuff. So when BB-8 started repairing it by almost looking like he was plugging the holes of a sinking ship, that was kind of funny. Then moving on, this is a part that is like, look, I can only suspend my disbelief so much. So the rebel bombers, they go to bomb the dreadnought. And how does the bombing work? It works just like World War II. They fly above the dreadnought, and then they drop bombs on top of the dreadnought. And the bombs drop down, just like the planes in World War II. You know what's the only thing that's missing in that equation? Oh, wait, it's that thing that we have on Earth that we don't have in space. Gravity. Why exactly did the bombs fall down? I can accept they fall down from the ship because you can say, oh, the ship has a gravity generator, whatever. You know, sure, the bombers have a gravity generator, so the bombs fall straight down. I can accept that. But after the bombs fall out of the ship, why are they still falling? Are you trying to tell me that the dreadnought works as a giant magnet? I mean, the second those things hit space, there's no gravity. It's like falling into a pool of water. So they would just bloop. Maybe one or two would hit the dreadnought for some strange reason, but most likely they would hit each other and they would explode the whole thing and blast the friggin' bomber to bits. At least that's my understanding of physics. Maybe I'm wrong there. And I know, oh, Rurikhan, don't try to make logic of it. It's Star Wars. And I'm like, okay, I'm willing to accept a lot of things, but Jesus Christ, bombs falling down like it's World War II in space? And it's like, oh no, the bombs have a guiding system. Okay, if the bombs have a guiding system, why exactly do we need the bombers to be on top of the dreadnought? Why can't we just fire the bombs? And they will guide themselves towards their target, if they're smart bombs. The bomber section made zero sense to me, and it was very hard for me to ignore that. I thought that was completely ridiculous. Then, when inevitably the resistance gets away, this was like the biggest one that instantly started telling me, like, oh, this is what they're doing. This is just one big joke, which is when Snoke makes a joke out of Hux in the bridge of the, whatever, he's in a Star Destroyer, I think, whatever. When Snoke just makes a joke of Hux on the bridge of the ship. Literally, Snoke just like makes Hux goes like face plant on the deck of the bridge. And then he drags him and he lifts him back up, and I was like, really? Really? It's almost like Snoke is bullying Hux in a funny way. And I was like, nah, dude, nah, this is garbage. That was garbage humor. Then shortly after that, we have Leia's Superman scene. I don't even know what to say about that one. Leia's like, I can fly now. Whatever. And shortly after that, we have Luke's goat, space goat milk. Luke just goes up to the most disgusting look. Oh wait, before that, we have another one. Luke grabs the lightsaber that Rey went to all the trouble of finding him to bring him the lightsaber. Kind of like a symbolic handing off of a lightsaber. Luke picks up the lightsaber and just goes like, eh. What? It's like, I'm sorry, what? You know, I get it. You're basically giving a big middle finger to everything of Star Wars that came before you. But I mean, you have to have some respect for, you know, at a certain point, Luke wouldn't do that. He just would never do that. Like, I can accept that Luke is a flawed, because they're trying to depict Luke as a flawed personality. Because essentially Luke tried killing Kylo Ren. Well, not tried killing. For a moment of base instinct, he drawed his lightsaber on Kylo Ren, and then he instantly regretted it. So I understand, Luke is flawed. I actually like that. I actually like the fact that they're depicting a flawed Luke. But I mean, that's not flawed, that's disrespectful. That's Luke just being disrespectful to someone who made an effort to go all the way to meet with him. I thought that scene was ridiculous. I thought it didn't make any goddamn sense, but whatever. And then we have Luke's space goat milk, which Luke is in an island, and he goes to the most disgusting looking animal that is on that island. As a matter of fact, the place where the teats of the animal are, I almost thought the animal just had 4 testicles. And then he squeezes the milk, the blue disgusting milk that comes out of there. Then he drinks it. And I was just like, I was eating popcorn. God damn it. No, it actually didn't. But it was again, it was the whole thing that, hey, here's another joke. And then shortly after you have Chewie's porg jokes, where Chewie hunted down a porg, killed it, cooked it, and then was eating it in front of all the other porgs. And in the end, he ended up not eating it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Chewie. So you went ahead, you killed this thing, and this thing never pleaded for its life. You never felt regretful while you were twisting its little neck and ripping its head off. Then you didn't feel regretful. But then when you were trying to eat it, some of its friends came along, probably his family came along, looked at you with their big eyes, and now you were regretful. Okay, Chewie, that's fucked up, but whatever. I didn't actually think that one was that funny. And speaking of porgs, fuck porgs. That's right, fuck porgs. Okay? They're not funny, they're not cute, and they're piss poor animated. Because when I first saw the image of porgs, because I've been trying to avoid spoilers and stuff, when I first saw the image of porgs, I figured it was going to be like a fluffy type animal, so they would have like fluffy type animations. They animate like a fucking piss poor chicken, like an animatronics garbage chicken. Fuck porgs. And then shortly after that, we have Yoda as comic relief. Talk about disrespecting a character, making Yoda basically be a comic relief appearance. And I get it, because like in the original trilogy, Yoda was not as serious as in the prequels, where he was, oh yes, the Force, we must be very responsible about the Force and who we train and yada, yada, yada. But then in the trilogies, he was like, mine, or I will help you not. So yeah, it's a very different Yoda from the originals to the whole thing, but it's like, Yoda is only funny for a little bit in the other films. In this film, the bit that he does show up in, he's just, fuck everything. It's like, Jedi manuscripts? Fuck that shit. Burn it all to the ground. Just like, dude summons up a lightning. That's another thing. How the fuck does spiritual force Yoda summons up a lightning, burns down an entire oak tree? I thought they couldn't interact with the world that much. I mean, if that's the case, why wouldn't we just have friggin', when Luke was taking on Darth Vader, he could bring a whole goddamn army of friggin', he could bring in Yoda, he could bring in Qui-Gon Jinn, he could bring in Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they could all be shooting lightning at Darth Vader, at the Emperor. He could just be like a summoner class Jedi, right? Just have all of these Force spirits come along and just shoot lightning at people. Why the frack not? Not to mention, isn't lightning supposed to be a power of the dark side? That's what I thought. I thought lightning was a power of the dark side. Maybe Yoda's been dabbling in a little bit of dark side. Of course not. It's all comic relief. It doesn't matter to this guy. He just doesn't give a fuck. Then we obviously have this, after a while, we have the scene about some of these are not in order. I'm sorry about that. But we have the scene with the Millennium Falcon. And to me, it's like, I'm such a Millennium Falcon fanboy that if you had a movie where it was just 2 hours of someone in the Millennium Falcon kicking ass. Doesn't even matter who it is. To me, the Millennium Falcon is its own character. If you just had someone there kicking ass for 2 hours, that would be a good movie to me. So I loved the scene where the Millennium Falcon shows up. But what the fuck? The turret breaks again? Like, again? It's like on The Force Awakens, what happens in the Millennium Falcon? Turret breaks. Well, what are we going to do for The Last Jedi? How about we break the turret? Not to mention, it's got 2 fucking turrets, okay? Millennium Falcon's got 2 turrets. One turret broke, guess what? There's another perfectly good one on the opposite end. So just like swap sides, it's not that hard. And unlike Finn, who's like, my turret's busted, fuck. It's like, there's another one on the other side. And the same thing with Rey. Oh, the turret's busted, fuck. There's another one on the other side. Unless they modified it and removed the other turret. I don't know why people just don't go to the other turret. Has nobody seen A New Hope? There's 2 turrets on the Millennium Falcon. Whatever. I just thought it was kind of repeated that, oh yeah, turret broke on this one. We're going to break it again on this one. Guess what happens in the 9th episode with the Millennium Falcon? It's going to show up, do something really heroic, and the turret's going to break again. Probably this time they'll break both of them because they'll watch this video and they'll be like, holy shit, he's right. Millennium Falcon's got 2 turrets. We got to break both of them next time. Whatever. Then we have the situation where if Commander Hobo, or whatever her name was, I don't even remember not Commander, she was Vice Admiral Hobo. Holdo, I'm sorry, Vice Admiral Hobo. She goes and she doesn't tell Poe Dameron the plan, which pretty much generates the whole subplot where Finn and Rose go to the casino. Talk about a good time to go get your fucking popcorn. Whenever Finn and Rose showed up at the casino, that's like, well, guess I'm gonna go get some popcorn now because nothing interesting is gonna happen and this is a goddamn Disney film. Okay? It's like, I gotta be honest. I dislike the casino scene so much that my brain has erased most of it from my memory. And I know that it's important because it sets up the whole theme of slavery and horse racing and all of the messages that tries to criticize society with. Sure. It was still a fucking bad scene. I'm sorry. But anyway, if Vice Admiral Hobo told Poe Dameron her original plan, instead of not telling him anything, Poe Dameron wouldn't have sent Finn and Rose to the casino. The plan would have worked, and everyone would have gotten away safely. No problems whatsoever. Just like eliminating a huge part of the subplot. Instead, the fact that she doesn't tell Poe Dameron actually causes a bunch of like transport ships or whatever the fuck they were flying in to the planet, actually caused a bunch of them to die. They just straight up die because when Finn and Rose come back, they bring the other guy, I forget his name, the guy by Benicio del Toro, who is actually a really good character. Probably one of the best characters in that goddamn movie. Because he actually acts like a proper mercenary. It's like, hey, these guys paid me. Fuck y'all. It's like, which is legitimately the way mercenaries should act. They're not all supposed to be like, oh, I have a heart of gold deep inside. It's like, no, these motherfuckers paid me. You didn't. Tough shit. It's like, it's that easy. So that character is interesting, but ultimately that character's betrayal causes a lot of ships to go down. And then we also have the whole scene where essentially Vice Admiral Hobo makes every single form of warfare in Star Wars obsolete. And I do mean every single form of warfare, apart from, I guess, apart from Death Star exploding planets, every other form of space fighting is obsolete now because you can just kamikaze hyperspace into a ship and it'll blast everything. It's like completely blast everything. That's what happened. She just kamikazed onto Snoke's dreadnought, destroyed almost every ship in the goddamn fleet. And I was like, well, why don't we just do that always? As a matter of fact, just build ships specifically for that purpose. Load them with explosives. Load them with the bombs that you had on those fucking bombers. As a matter of fact, why even have bombers that do bombing runs? Just have bombers that kamikaze into ships and make them explode. You can have droids fly those things. It's not that hard. If R2-D2 can fly an X-Wing, any droid can fucking fly a ship and ram it into another ship. There you go. Solves most of the space battles. Like, whenever there's a big ship, the big ship's gonna go like, oh shit. It's like a Star Destroyer sees an X-Wing and they start panicking because it's like, holy shit, is he gonna kamikaze into us? Oh my god, everybody run away. Because that's essentially what that does. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it looks cool as fuck, I'll give it that, and it's amazing. And then there's also the other plot hole there, which is like, if she could do that, why did she wait until more than half the rebel fleet was destroyed before she took that action? She was gonna die anyway. She said it. She's like, oh, someone has to stay behind, fly the carrier. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna sacrifice myself for the greater good. And then it's like, okay, looks like they're taking out our ships. Why don't you kamikaze into the dreadnought? No, I must wait until 15 more of you die. Then I will kamikaze into the dreadnought. What? What are you talking about? You see, that's the type of shit that just doesn't make any goddamn sense. And there's more to it. Then there's the whole Luke thing, where basically he goes down to the planet surface to give the middle finger to Leia. And you guys are like, what? That's not what happened. Really? Luke goes down there, gives Leia a bunch of fake dice, which then disappear. What do you call that? It's like, was he going to just sustain the illusion that the dice were there forever? Is that what he was going to do? And the way Luke dies. He's gone like a fart in the wind. He's gone. That's it. I was like, what? Really? Well, I mean, at least have him go out like a man, like actually fighting. No, he just dies like a bitch. It's like, I wish you would have had the hologram. As a matter of fact, whenever I saw that particular scene where Luke goes out, they actually give you hints that it's a hologram because they show you distortions on Luke's image, if you guys didn't notice that. And I looked at that and I was like, that's a hologram. And then he's just like, fire everything, kill him. And I was like, it's a hologram. And it turns out it wasn't a hologram. It was just a massive Jedi mind trick or whatever the hell you want to call it. And then it's just like, in the end, he's not there. And he just dies. It's like, oh, it's too much effort. Well, if you're going to die, you might as well die over there instead of dying isolated on your goddamn island. I don't know. But again, the biggest thing for me wasn't even the plot. These were some of the things that I had issues with. But the biggest problem is that, oh yeah, wait, there's one more. So stupid. This one's like probably the most stupid one of all. So Finn is making the heroic play in his ship. He's gonna kamikaze, which again, it's almost like a theme in this thing, the kamikaze. But Finn is getting ready to kamikaze himself onto this cannon that is firing against the Rebel Alliance's door. And Rose crashes into Finn to save him. And I was like, those ships look less safe than my car. Okay? If you crashed those ships at that speed, you would both die. It's that simple. You would both fucking die. But no, Rose is just like, I'll save you, Finn. T-bones him, prevents Finn from doing the heroic thing, and achieves nothing other than almost get them both killed. Interestingly enough, none of the AT-ATs just look down and like, hey, look, there's two rebels over there. Pew-pew. They're gone. None of the AT-ATs are just like, those guys are main characters, dude. We can't fire at them. Whatever. But it's like, as I was saying, these were some of the things that annoyed me in the movie. That doesn't mean there weren't a lot of things that I like. Like I said, I like Poe Dameron's scene where he goes into the dreadnought, takes out all of the cannons, even though it doesn't make a lot of sense that they wouldn't have defense that would account for one single X-Wing. But it does make some sense because Poe Dameron is the best pilot in the Resistance. He can do shit that nobody else can do. Like, he's a better fighter pilot than Luke and Darth Vader, or Anakin Skywalker, however you want to call him. Spoilers! Because Anakin was like the best fighter pilot in the galaxy, and Poe Dameron, at least the way that they depict him in the movies, he's better than both of them put together. As like, that scene was pretty cool. I really liked the development of Rey and Kylo, specifically because it shows raw force power. Instead of, a lot of people were criticizing us, like, what about the midichlorians? What about them not coming from the Skywalkers? And I'm like, no, I'm okay with that. That's actually cool. It's like the Force has its own will, and it has decided to empower these two individuals because, like, Kylo Ren is growing really strong in the dark side, so the Force needs someone really strong in the light side, and they pick Rey because she has a very innocent heart. And clearly the Force picked well because she will not be corrupted. She will not be tempted by the dark side. So I find it actually cool that they are able to get their powers and become really strong really fast, because it skips the whole training montage, you know? It's like training montages is something that we've had in movies for ages. I mean, just look back on Rocky. What is every single Rocky movie, which I love, by the way? It's basically Rocky fights, gets his ass beat, trains, and then he beats the person who beat his ass. Every single movie is pretty much that. except for Balboa. Balboa is a little bit different, but it's still kind of, the idea is still the same. You know, a lot of training. It's like, we need a training montage. Is that what you guys wanted? There is a couple of training montages for Rey, but, you know, clearly not enough because a lot of people still were not happy. But one of the things that I liked the most was Kylo Ren's character. Because I liked Kylo Ren's character in The Force Awakens, and a lot of people criticized, hey, he's just a tantrum-throwing boy, and he doesn't deserve to be a Sith. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Do people not understand the whole thing about anger, passion, hate? Do people not understand that this is the way of the Sith? Anger, passion, hate, and suffering? Well, Kylo Ren is actually the only Sith that I have seen that actually embodies these things. He's the only one. He's the only Sith that is actually pissed off all the time and actually is in anger and in conflict. And I love Kylo Ren's character. But even another thing that I also really liked about Kylo Ren is that I didn't notice this as much on the first movie because there's only a couple of lightsaber fights, right? But the way Kylo Ren wields his sword, I really like it because it's this raw, savage. It's not a typical sword because like most lightsabers are used like sabers, you know, just like a saber would. Like you swing it around super fast. It's a super light weapon, all of that. Kylo Ren's lightsaber is the most original lightsaber we've seen so far. I know a lot of people make fun of it because of the cross and all the memes and all of that, but like it works like a great sword. And if you pay attention to his fighting style, he fights just like he had a great sword. Like his lightsaber actually has weight to it, which I find to be pretty fascinating. I actually really like the fact that they went with that style because it completely makes Kylo Ren's moveset and the way that he fights unique to Kylo Ren. And it actually makes it be probably my favorite lightsaber of all times because it's actually a unique lightsaber. It's not like all the other lightsabers that are exactly the same. They're finesse weapons. Like say for instance, let's put Dark Souls in here. If Kylo Ren's, not Kylo Ren's, if every other lightsaber that existed before Kylo's is like a straight sword, because it's essentially what it is, or a Balder side sword, whatever you want to call it, Kylo Ren's is the Iron Greatsword. And that is awesome. It's like, or this Vaihand does. You guys will notice the way that he does the moves when he fights. You have to pay attention to it. It's really very deliberately a style for a bigger sword. And I thought that was awesome. That was probably one of my favorite things about the movie. Some of the space battles and Kylo Ren's fighting style actually being really well defined. And Kylo Ren as a character has probably become my favorite character in the new trilogy. It's like straight up, I actually really like Kylo Ren's character. I know a lot of people don't like it because he looks like a boy that's throwing tantrums and all that shit. And I'm just like, that's what Sith are supposed to be like. They're supposed to be pissed off, unpredictable, rage. Because that's the emotions that a Sith should be feeling. It's the most pure depiction of what a Sith actually is. He's not someone who's in control like the Emperor. I mean, considering that Jedi, the Sith draw their power of the Force from these emotions, you know, the Emperor is pretty much in control, just like Snoke. Snoke's also pretty much in control. And Snoke dying off midway through the film, I was like, oh, fuck it. I didn't care about him anyways. Fuck him. And I know that a lot of people are like, but this mystery of Snoke. And I was like, dude, Kylo Ren's a much more interesting character. Fuck Snoke. And the reason why Kylo Ren's a much more interesting character is because when he actually does his speech, he actually goes on and he says, dude, forget about the dark side. Forget about the light side. Fuck all that shit. Let's just rule the galaxy. Because, see, that's probably one of the more important lines in the movie. I mean, it's not exactly said like that, but that was the whole point. It's like he doesn't care about the dark. He doesn't care about the light. He just wants fucking, I just want to control the galaxy. I just want peace for the galaxy. He just wants a Darth Vader dream. I thought that was pretty cool. So, yeah, there are good moments, like I said, in the movie, but I felt a big portion of the movie was extremely disrespectful because it tried to make a joke out of just about everything. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.